It is said thousands of these birds make their daily flight to the Venezuelan mainland to feed, returning to the swamp at dusk. That's about 11 miles just for food. Once you arrive here, it's easy because there are so many experienced tour operators like Alistair, ready to take you in the mangrove.
It is very important for us to protect our wetlands because the wetlands improve water quality. They also create habitats for fish, for animals, for wildlife. The biodiversity behind here is out of the world. We have 40 square miles of mangrove ecosystem, considered to be one of the best in the Western Hemisphere. While they store food for local and visiting species, but mangrove ecosystems also act as a big sponge so that they would help out during flooding time and they would absorb the water. They would, they retain it and then they purify it and release it back into the system. Mangrove ecosystems store a lot more carbon dioxide than any other terrestrial forest in the world, making them the #1 combat against global warming and climate change. On the roots of the mangroves, you have a lot of marine organisms live like oysters, barnacles, sponges, worms. The roots of the trees, they form a dense forest, slowing down the heavy movement of silt, creating mud bars. And they also form a buffer against the wave to prevent land erosion. It creates habitats, and you see for yourself, any island that possesses a good habitat and it has adequate food supply will encourage colonizing. We have the flamingos new. Since 2015, we've been seeing the flamingos. That's an added attraction to Caroni Swamp. And it's because of a perfect habitat like Caroni Swamp that would encourage something like this. The effects, I would say, on the wetlands from humanity would be degradation and destruction when they clear off the mangrove ecosystems for industrial use. Pesticide and the wrong fertilizer used for agriculture, and it comes in here. Plastic and sanitary garbage or litter would come into the swamp and cause major problems. If you ever pass with a plane over the swamp and see there's a mohawk of dried trees bordering the Beetham landfill, and that means the toxic is leaching into the swamp and it's coming quickly, fast and furious. Awareness and education is the most important thing. As I told you already, how important ecosystems are for water quality, for habitats, for the biodiversity in here. Simple as no littering and educating people on conservation and preservation. The pesticides, if agriculture, we must come up with the correct pesticides and fertilizers to use because these things come into the waterways. Remember, the Caroni Swamp takes the water in from as far as Valencia and it brings in everything into the swamp. Via the Gulf of Paria. All the nutrients from the mountains come into the swamp and the crabs come out to feed on that and then the birds feed on the crabs. So there's the entire food chain of the swamp depends on the cleanliness of the water, how irrigated it is and stuff like that. It's very important. We need to protect the mangrove ecosystems by keeping it alive. This was placed on Earth for us. We just have to take care of it, and that's all we have to do. This is given this beautiful, the biodiversity in Caroni Swamp is rich. We boast of over 180 different species of birds. We have non-avian species like snakes, caimans, iguanas, silky anteaters, raccoons. We've seen capybaras now. So we could enjoy flamingos and skull-type birds coming into roost together with herons and egrets, and they all congregate in big islands. But we need to do our part and do the right thing and protect the wetlands and nature.
Oh my goodness, you can see the sheer joy in Natasha's face there as we continue to celebrate World Earth Day here on the Now Morning Show. Welcome back to it. That was the Caroni Swamp. We just took a little drive through there with, I guess it's a drive through with Natasha there, giving us some important tips on how we can definitely do our part to help the environment. And this morning we're going to continue that conversation with wildlife biologist and the head of the wildlife section at the Forestry Division, Mr. David Mahabir, joins us on set. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you as well.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. I'm good.
Tell me about the importance of World Earth Day to the Forestry Division.
So World Earth Day, this year's theme is Invest in Our Planet. And the Forestry Division has embarked in a lot of conservation and and protection when it comes to our natural environment. When it comes to the forest species, together with our wildlife, we play an active role in ensuring that we enforce the Wildlife Act and the Forest Act, together with the Agricultural Act as well, to protect our environment and limit pollution, that is.
Limit pollution. Why do we need to protect the wildlife? What is the importance of wildlife to us?
So our wildlife is very important to us because without wildlife, you don't really have a tourist base. Example, like persons from all over the world will come to Trinidad just to see our forests and wildlife species. And it is very important. It's life, and life is important, whether it's human or it's animal or even a tree. We all have importance, yes.
How can people, like individuals, help to preserve it? I know you guys have a big mandate and a big role, but in our individual lives, what can we do to assist?
So, individually, each person will play an active role when it comes to conserving the environment and also when it comes to pollution and getting rid of waste. So one of the major things we'll do is recycle, reuse, plant a tree. Tree is very important, and also take advantage of the beautiful environment that we have outside there. You know,
the environment. You say plant a tree, and it's important. I mean, we just say plant a tree, and people think, just go outside, plant a tree, and life will be fine. But trees contribute to our oxygen. They contribute to cleaner environments. They also help against global warming, which we've been fighting climate change and global warming for some time. What role does the environment play? Does the wildlife play in that climate change and global warming and that sort of thing?
So the Forestry Division and Wildlife section, what we do is that we do replanting of our degraded forests, bushfires. We control it because the bushfire itself, it eventually will cause erosion, removal of the topsoil, and the Forestry Division, together with our entire ministry, we also do education program where we actually work alongside with schools and the general public to educate them the importance of the forest and the environment at large and our wildlife species.
What other projects do you guys do?
We also do, we have where we try to encourage communities working alongside with them to protect our wildlife species. For instance, we have the sea turtle protection program that is right now our sea turtles in abundance, and we work with the communities themselves to protect them and also to make sure that the animal itself is safe, you know.
But I mean, I know that I've heard very recently about people who make a living from selling turtle, from catching, killing, selling turtle. How do we fight against that?
So over the past year, we have been fortunate enough to have 28 new motivated, hard-working game wardens, together with our senior game wardens and the forest officers and rangers. We work together in terms of enforcing the Wildlife Act, enforcing the Forest Act, and these are the instruments that we use together with research. Now, in order for us to properly protect our wildlife, you need to know the science and the behavior of the animal species themselves. So our staff, our officers themselves, they work alongside with me and other organizations to actually learn the science behind each animal. So in order for us to actually understand how they behave, we could be able to properly protect them and also make amendments to our Wildlife Act and Forest Act to incorporate that.
I imagine that like hunters would use the same kind of science, right? Because I wonder if there can be some sort of working together, because we do have a hunting season where people are allowed to go and catch certain things or whatever the case is. And I know that hunters would also study the behavior of the animals in order to be able to know where to go and find them. So can there be a relationship between the Forestry Division and the hunters so that we can work simultaneously to protect the environment and everybody get what they want out of it?
Yeah, of course. Presently, we have the Wildlife Conservation Committee. It's made up of one of the members is from the Hunters Association. And we work alongside the hunters in order to properly understand what exactly that they go out there and do, the animals that they harvest. we try to educate them in the sense of not to over-harvest our wildlife because we presently don't have any bag limits or any certain amount that you could hunt. Now, there are specific species that you cannot hunt, which is under the Environmental Management Act, which is our environmentally sensitive species. And this is where our enforcement will come into play. This is where we do our education, so we could actually educate the hunters, okay, you know, just harvest what you could consume.
Right.
Don't over-harvest.
Right.
You know?
Now, Mr. Mahabir, today is World Earth Day, and of course one of the things that we're trying to do is just to build awareness about how we can be more environmentally friendly. I'm just wondering how we can change the face of, for example, climate change and global warming. Like, what can we do to prevent these things from happening? I mean, can we even prevent it from happening?
Well, yeah, we could slow down the process. Presently, as you know, the earth is like our body. And our body, you have to eat healthy, you have to take care of yourself, you try to breathe proper and clean air. So as each individual of us, what we could do is try to encourage where we could educate the public. For instance, sharing this live today, that's your first start. You know, by doing this interview, it's how we will be able to educate. And I think education will go a long way, especially for our young generation, because our younger generation is our future. And we need a proper, clean, fresh earth in order to survive for the future. And this is where we could embark on and try to educate everyone when it comes to having a clean earth.
Do you feel like it's an uphill battle that you're fighting? Because there's big manufacturing industries that pollute the environment on a daily basis.
Right.
Is it an uphill battle? Is it worth the fight?
It is, because at the end of the day, each business, each company will want to have an earth where they could continue their entire business, right? So it's something that we could work alongside with government agencies and business and the general public and sort of, you know, show them the importance of having earth. And in that way, we could combat climate change, not, you know, like instantly, but over a period of time by implementing laws to safeguard in terms of pollution, planting more trees, trying to, you know,
have you seen improvements over the years, though?
Over the years, because of, as you all know, for the past 2 years, we had COVID.
Well, the last 2 years, they get cheap there, you know what I mean?
and the air in most countries was clear, you know, people got to enjoy the freshness outside there. So if for 2 years you could control it, I think it's hope for us to control it in the future. And again, it's just trying to slow down the whole process when it comes to pollution. And pollution is a major contribution to global warming and changes in our climate, which we are experiencing right now.
We certainly are. So go out there and plant a tree or two, drive less. Would that help?
Yeah.
Walk more, drive less?
Yeah.
Or maybe we could buy some bicycles and you know, try and make it work a little bit. But thank you so much, Mr. Mahabir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course, Mr. Mahabir. Thank you so much for coming in and, you know, sharing that information with us.
Yeah, and on behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture, the Conservator of Forests, Mr. Danny Dipchand Singh, and the Deputy Conservator of Forests, Mr. Rupnayan Singh, we would like to, and myself and the entire Forestry Division, we would like to wish everyone a happy Earth Day. And remember, treat Earth like you treat your body. Take care of it.
Say less. Treat Earth like you would treat your body. Take care of it. Sometimes, somehow, you had to treat Earth better than you treat your body. But that's a whole other conversation. We take a quick break and come back with more inside the Now Morning Show.